Okay. Welcome to the first LS live stream Q&A. We're super excited about this. Devin is almost with us. He's about a block away, so I'm not going to really jump into anything until he gets here. But just to create a little framework, we're really excited about this. This is going to be our first weekly live stream that we're going to push for at least a year. For all of you watching on Instagram, your best picture will definitely be found on YouTube as well as Facebook. You can check it out on both of our channels. For all of those that we promised to be live on Twitter, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty on Twitter. It's our first live stream, so just give us another week and we'll get that straightened out. But we're almost ready for you. In the meantime, start pinning your questions and get us ready. We're ready to address anything you've got in mind, whether it's real estate or otherwise. How we doing here? If you have any personal questions for me in the meantime.
Ignacio asks, what is your why?
What is my why? Ignacio, we're going to get to that one. That's a really good question. Don't even think about it, Jason. Devin is almost with us, and we're going to crush this first live stream. But Ignacio started with a really good question. There he is. We've got a lot of people in the office watching what's going on here. This is very interesting. Jason, just go on YouTube, go on Facebook. What are you breaking my balls for, huh? Almost there. Keep those questions coming. Let's rack them up so we have a lot to talk about. How are we doing on viewership? No. No. Come on, Dev, let's do this. Lock that door.
We already have guests.
Lock that door.
It's a huge deal. We've already went viral, Jason. Yeah, come on in.
Is this only an hour?
It's
Up to
going
an
to be
hour.
like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
So we'll still be here, and I'm going to go log on to Facebook. Right?
Yeah, go check it out, Facebook or
Look how
YouTube.
cute this is.
Ken, we'll be here when you're
And
done.
look at Abe's. I mean, is that the most serious? Oh, wow. Okay,
There
guys.
you go. This is all your
Hi,
material. How you doing?
Sorry I'm late, guys.
Welcome to our first.
Why would you lock it?
I'm going to lock it.
Anything can
I
happen
don't
in
want to
here.
deal with this bullshit.
Let's deal with it. Woo. Did Ariel
Give a
introduce
little
us?
welcome. Introduce yourself.
Let's find out if they can see us.
They can see us. I tested
I
it.
am the other half of the Leahy Sassoon team. I'm not sure what Ariel has already brought to your attention, but we're very excited to be here. This is pretty much an outlet for us to speak to some of the people following the vlog, speaking to some of our clients, and a lot of new agents are constantly asking Ariel for advice, myself for advice, and because we've come across some good fortune, good luck through hard work, we're able to sit here now and tell you what we've been up to.
Yes.
And yeah, I guess let's get started.
Yeah, let's create a little framework for
Okay,
them first.
let's create.
Let's create a little framework.
Hallelujah.
We've been vlogging now for about 2 years, really documenting our journey, and over those 2 years, thankfully, we've seen an extraordinary level of success. A lot of that we attribute to our following and the support you guys have given us. And now we feel it's time to really give back and address any questions that we can help add value to you on. And just to give you a little bit of a sense of things, we're going to be doing this every single Wednesday at 6 p.m. for at least a year. So we've got
6
a lot
p.m. Apologies for being
Yes,
late.
that's
Apologies,
right.
My mistake.
But the initiative is just to add value, and that's what we're here for. And I'm going to let Devin really get started, my first
Wow.
question to you
You're asking questions?
before you get into all of this
Okay.
is, why real estate for you? Ignacio Rojo,
Yes.
a very loyal fan on YouTube,
Okay.
reached out with his first question. He wants to know what our why is. So why don't you start?
Did
with
we
that?
really have a question? Did
Yes.
Ignacio Rojo have a question?
He had a few follow-up questions as well.
No, he
Great,
did not.
great. We're gonna get to.
Are we
all
lying
of
to our... Do we have an Ignacio Rojo? Where's Ignacio Rojo from?
Argentina.
them.
Shut the fuck up. Are you being serious right now? Are you lying to me?
No, we're off to a good start.
Ignacio Rojo? With a C or a Z?
You see,
I would think so. Nacho. I'm flattered that you've asked us a question. Let me tell you, I'm already thrown off guard here. I didn't think we'd have a question our first podcast. So let me try to dive into this without boring you.
What is your why?
What is my why in the real estate world? I was working in hospitality for 5 years before I jumped into real estate. Ariel's heard this story many times. And I reached a point in hospitality. I was about 23 years old, 24 years old at the time, and I sort of hit a peak. I came across a lot of success. I was managing several high-end Italian restaurants. I was a food and beverage director, one of the youngest in Beverly Hills. And I hit this peak, and I'm using the word peak because I got to a point where I was making this great salary. I had insane hours, and I remember I was managing a breakfast at a very high-end location on the Upper East Side on 59th and 5th Street. And I overheard a group of real estate tycoons. Every month they got together, they sat down. We're talking about the people that own the Freedom Tower, more real estate than you can imagine. And I just overheard the things they were talking about. And I couldn't believe that people could get so much in such a short amount of time, in the sense of developing, building. It was really so foreign to me that after I heard that conversation, I created my exit strategy. It took me about 5 months or so, but I wanted to get into the real estate business purely because it had no ceiling, no pun intended. I knew that I wanted to be in a business where the amount of work and time I put into something was what hopefully I would get back. And that's really my why. I wanted to jump into it because I knew I could be as big as I wanted to be. And now I'm sitting here and we have 5 to 6 followers. So look at you, dreams do come true, Mr. Nacho. Thank you for the question.
I love it. So you really felt like there was just no ceiling, no limits for you.
No ceiling, no limits. I knew that I was obnoxious enough and straightforward enough and hungry enough to be able to figure out the business, work my way around from $2,000 rentals to now the high-end luxury market, and now we're here.
I love it. I'm going to try to follow that one as best as I possibly can. For me, my why, to create a little even more framework, I was originally working in finance. I spent about 3 years interning, and then I quickly realized that the way the market was going, it was becoming a business where you really would spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer. It used to be that if you were a commodities trader, let's say your job was to if you were a corn trader, fly to the harvest and look at the color of the corn and look at the weather and understand all of this, and then really make really make your decision. Really,
I love it. I love it.
Really make your decision if you were going to buy or sell. But it's become a world that's really so analytical, and for me, I didn't want to spend my time in front of a computer. I wanted to be out and about, and I found that real estate was a great avenue to do that. I chose residential because I felt, that I had my own aspirations to live in a really big, beautiful home, and I felt that it would be a great way to express myself. And then I soon realized that my strength was really in the creative world. And Devin and I partnered up together after being on the Luis Ortiz team for about 1.5 years, which was a really phenomenal experience, learning the kind of basics of really knowing what it takes to list a property. And then we jumped into this thing and created our own in-house media company, and we've been a team that's been a force of nature on the creative side, and it's been really exciting for us. So for me, my why is I love to create. I love to put things in motion. I love to see satisfied customers, people who really feel the emotion of entering into their new home, and that's my fulfillment, is creating and seeing the impact and creating the impact.
When I first joined the business, Ariel had already been in the business for several years, and he was sort of an encyclopedia of knowledge, right? Very basic.
Sweet.
It's true. Very, basic knowledge to newer agents and maybe even agents who are in the veteran category, but he is extremely, extremely well versed, besides the marketing, in the ABCs of how to conduct yourself in the real estate world. Now, if you don't have those ABCs, you're not going to be able to do much, right? You can't educate the people you're working with, which is really how any sale is gonna happen. So Ariel has a plethora of knowledge that you really can't see unless you're working close to him. So fast forward 2 years.
Yeah.
Fast forward 2 years where we were sharing a desk on Luis D. Ortiz's team.
By the way, this is what it looked like when we were sharing a desk.
Yes.
Elbow to elbow. And
Absolutely.
sharing it. It was unbelievable. But I think that, as partners, we really complement each other. For me, my focus is really the creative side, but I have my strengths. But Devin is an incredible, incredible salesman. He's incredible at understanding what people want and what people need and how to deliver that. And for me, my strength is creative, and just combining those things and distributed content on that basis has really created an extraordinary level of success for us, thank God.
Last thing before we move on, and I realize we don't have commercials here. I mean, this is an hour.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you guys need to use the restroom or anything like that, be our guest. The last thing that's very important to address is throughout our career, and even recently within the last few weeks, you always need to remind yourself why you're doing something. It's very easy to get complacent. It's very easy to sort of get bored with your day-to-day routine and operations. And Ariel and I are constantly working to find a way to motivate ourselves, to justify what we're doing, and really strategize on how to grow our business. Because other than what we did in the last year, it's very easy to get complacent, right? We've done over $100 million since 2017 at this point. We're in the 120 to 130 range. And we had a sit-down conversation that got very heated, and it was basically how to ensure that we are growing that and doubling that and really understanding that it's never enough in this business. You've got to keep going.
Yeah, and support each other. That's a great piece of advice to anybody thinking about taking on a partner, is make sure you work with someone who can support you and you could support them, and you can really help create each other's fulfillment and create that impact.
All right, what's next?
So let's sort of jump in. I think, do we have any questions sort of waiting for us?
Rojas is our only fan.
Ignacio has a second question.
All right, let's hear it before we move into market
Why
stuff.
stop the vlog showing the office in the day? Now you're only showing the apartments. Keep going with the office.
Wow,
that's interesting feedback.
This guy Nacho, can we get him into the office?
Ignacio, we're going to fly you in from Argentina. You're going to come join us on one of these sit downs.
Yeah, on Ariel's budget, no problem. We'll fly in first.
I will definitely say that this year was definitely a lighter year for the vlog than it was the previous year. And Devin and I actually sat down about 2 days ago, and we were talking, and
Well, let's be more straightforward than that. I think we can be really straightforward. What happened was the first year we vlogged, we did big business.
Yeah.
Good business. We were building up to it.
52 vlogs in a single year. That's, a weekly vlog for us. It was a big accomplishment.
You look so scared. He's like, what the fuck is he about to say? Very simply speaking, when you are servicing clients on the sales side as well as the buy side, it takes up an extraordinary amount of time, right? We can dive into the process of getting sales listings if you guys are interested.
But that's just going to become an excuse.
Right, but for conversation's sake, and to answer your question, we got very busy. Not too busy, not spreading ourselves too thin, but our priority is simply to service the people that we're working with. If you hire us to sell a $15 million listing, if you hire us to sell a $1 million listing, we need to ensure that our time is spent in marketing your property, showing your property, answering your questions about the market, about feedback from showings, why they didn't like your disgusting mustard-colored couch, and there's so many different things that go into the actual time the property sits on market. That when you have a lot of listings, it's going to take up a lot of time.
Now, I don't want that to come off as an excuse, because we did make a promise to each other a couple of days ago.
It's an excuse. We were very busy, and we need to now manage our time in a better way and work harder to provide
Yes.
those vlogs to you guys.
And our intention is to go back full steam into our vlog. 2019 will certainly be the year of the vlog. You will see a weekly vlog from us without wavering. Absolutely.
They're not going to be as long, right?
They're not going to be as long,
They're not
but
gonna be as long.
we will be sure to show more of The Office. That was definitely the most entertaining elements. Watching
Was
Devin,
it?
yeah, watching you eat your massive veal parms and your mozzarella sticks was definitely
That
entertaining.
made the vlog,
I
right?
think so. I think so.
Anyways, we're going to post some more. We've been very busy. This is one of the ways, arenas, avenues that we're going to be able to get back in touch with people like yourself
Yes.
who do have questions, that are interested about what we're doing in the New York real estate market. So, again, Nacho, Ignazio, thank you for our question. We have another question. Abraham!
Oh wow!
So who's
I don't
the
think we're going to
question
be able
from?
to talk about any of this.
64 James G. What does your listing presentation look like, and how do you talk about your marketing?
64, I don't know if that's a friend or that might be a family member of
He's
mine.
asking us to share a lot of secrets, but that's okay. We actually have a couple of show sheets here from some of our listings, just to give you a sense.
They want to know how we list a property?
Repeat the question one more time.
What does your listing presentation look like, and how do you talk about your marketing?
What a sweet and thoughtful question. Where's this person? Where's this? Can we talk to this person?
If you're
we
still
write
watching,
back?
tell us where you're from. In the meantime, let's start to address the question.
I mean, I'm so curious where this person's from.
I'm going to open with this one.
If you want. Are you kidding me? You're the marketing guru. I'm going to learn from you.
For us, we've always approached our listing presentation from a place of creativity, of course. But one thing that we really know and understand about the market is that it's extremely visual and that people are judging with the eyes, which means that everything from the little tiny thumbnail photo that hangs next to the details of a listing on a long list on any website like Zillow, Trulia, or StreetEasy, even that little thumbnail has to be what we call visually arresting. It has to arouse the viewer enough to click. So we take our marketing all the way back to the first click. So what we really promise our sellers more than anything else, we never make a promise about price, but we do promise them that we'll be able to yield more foot traffic and more people through the door to see the actual home than anyone possibly could. And that's because of our creative approach.
So, it's very important to understand before how we go into marketing a property, which Ariel very eloquently described, is that question is very much why we're sitting here with these FlexFit hats on the table,
Which we'll talk about in a
Which
few
we'll talk
minutes.
about because we're selling them for $9.99.
They're free.
They're free. But it's very important. It's very important. And it's a very good question. And the reason why it's so important is because the reason why we're sitting here now, and we were able to survive in this business to a point of reaching a great amount of success, is because that's the question we asked ourselves when we joined forces. Now, we weren't really a force at all when we joined forces. We had just left this massive team. We had no sales inventory of our own. We collectively, again, had $0 in team sales volume. That means
And in our wallets.
$0 in transaction volume. You can repeat 0, and then you can add another sentence to what I'm saying. So before Ariel and I really hit the pavement, we said, how on earth are we going to convince A, anybody to work with us, okay, and B, anyone to just list their property with us, right? Where can we add value? So you're going to constantly hear us use the word value because it's really the only way you're ever going to convince anybody to work with you,
Yep.
right? And we sat down for months on end without calling clients, without listing properties, without working with buyers, to create a platform that we've now built on.
Yes.
So that listing presentation which you're talking about could be a whole nother vlog, and not to sound not a vlog, but an episode, right? It's from photography, from in-house media marketing, front shots online, where you're marketing it, how you're implementing social media. It just goes on and on.
Yeah, and
it just goes on and on.
If you want a basic understanding, in 2016 we made our first big film. We called it The Process. It was produced by our great friend Jojo Goldsmith, who's an absolutely brilliant videographer.
Jojo.
So definitely go check out our YouTube channel, LS Media. You'll see our process video that really gives you a full sense of what our approach is when listings, when listing homes. And we go through the full process of staging and photography from top to bottom, and we even take you as far as letting you know what ended up happening with that sale at the very end. It's a great story. But listen, why don't we jump into a little bit of market talk?
Yes.
64 James G is from the United Kingdom.
Shut the
United
fuck
Kingdom.
up.
I love
You're
it.
from across the pond? I can't believe it. Jay, that's amazing. Can we ask him where? I guess it's already too late. He stopped watching. We bored him to death with our answer. Anyways, if he comes with an answer,
I like how we're not getting any questions from the United
I'm
States.
a big Man United fan. I hope you are not a Liverpool or Arsenal fan. I'm not sure if you watched.
my cousin Edmund's a big Arsenal.
I know your cousin Edmund's a big Arsenal fan. Can you ask him what team he supports? Oh,
Yeah, what team
am
do
I
you
speaking
support?
to him right now?
You're speaking to him.
Man, this is phenomenal stuff.
It's fun, right?
What team is he? Typing?
This was a good idea. This
This-
live stream.
My answer was great about. He's a Reds fan.
No, regarding the process.
Oh, that's very sweet of
He's a
him.
Chelsea fan.
He's a Chelsea fan.
My cousin Caesar is a Chelsea fan.
Well, fuck Caesar and fuck this guy. No, I'm joking. I'm already a huge fan of yours. I'm sure you've been very, very happy with the rapid and steady decline of the Manchester United faithful. Obviously, we didn't have a great result against Valencia today, but back to real estate. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
You guys are asking.
I was
anything.
just going to say that being that pretty much all our questions are coming in from Europe, we should have 5 minutes devoted to soccer.
We're international brokers. Argentina and okay. What do we need to dive into next?
I left this stuff here for you. It's our weekly reports. I thought maybe you wanted to dive in a little bit into the luxury.
What does it look
numbers.
like when this goes up?
It's just glass, but there's too much reflection.
Yeah, but there's city. There's city behind
it's
us.
reflection from the lights.
Manhattan is behind us.
Let's stick to this. I thought maybe you can give them a quick insight into the luxury numbers.
All right, I'm going to
last
do my
week.
best not to try and bore them. Okay, so
I'm going to put this
Why are you
aside
taking that
so
away
it
from
doesn't
me?
distract you.
it's already distracting me that you moved it. I don't want what the bring put it back on my plate. Don't touch my plate. Take your fingers out of my soup. Okay, so what should we start with?
Oh, we have a question.
We have another question.
We're not going to do any of this tonight.
Jesus.
Getting more questions than we thought.
Abe,
From Ignacio.
Ignacio Roa.
I'm
We'll give
so-
you one more.
Listen,
Let's-
Nacho, ask away. Ask away.
So, he's from Argentina, so his English is a little broken.
That's okay.
He wrote, when you have a photograph, a render, etc., and don't have an answer from a market.
Okay, no, that's a great
I
question.
understand it.
the
That's a
photos-
great question.
Like the photos don't
So-
create an impact?
Yes.
So, that's an amazing question.
Okay.
Ignacio, very it's what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So once we list a property and once we photograph the property, our job then is to analyze online traffic,
Yes.
which it's not as simple as just one website,
No.
right? Online traffic is every single platform which our listed is distributed on. So that's one of the equations. The second
Well,
part,
let's expand on that a little bit.
Ariel's going to expand on
just,
that.
Just to give you a sense, it's really important to, especially in this market, is to certainly manage the expectations of your client. And one thing that goes into that is you want to keep them apprised on the analytics. How many clicks, how many views, how many impressions is your listing getting? So, for example, if you're getting 1,000 views a week on a listing or 2,000 views a week and you're not getting any inquiries or requests to show, then your problem is not your presentation. Your problem is likely your position in the market with respect to price. So that's something that you definitely want to look at, and the more you keep your clients informed on what's going on analytically in the market, the less you'll have to convince them, the more that they will see for themselves, really what's going on.
So if you have great photography, you have a great thumbnail, right? That first photo that's really going to capture the audience, whether it's a buyer or a broker. You are distributed properly throughout all necessary platforms. You are sending out broker loops, right, which are emails to the broker community. If you're touching all bases and you still don't have much interest, you got to look to the next most important thing besides the marketing, and that's the value of the property, right?
Absolutely.
Number one is marketing. Number two is price. So they both go hand in hand. With a genius marketing guru like Ariel, right? It doesn't matter what you price the listing at that point, right? You can make the property look absolutely stunning, highlight all the incredible features, but if the price is unrealistic, and if you're in the wrong market to be unrealistic, no one's going to show up.
And if you need someone to talk to your clients and make that very clear, it's that.
This is like an infomercial at this point. It's like, it's like 1-800
Let's
work
look
with
at.
us.
Let's give you a thumbnail example. Let's give you a thumbnail example.
Who has a question?
That's it.
All right, hold on, Ignacio. We're going to
No,
get. We're gonna get
no.
through in a
I
minute.
think no.
This is addressing his question. This is addressing his
Listen,
question.
we've got to
Let's
keep
look
the
at this.
faithful. Ignacio, I'm going to answer every question until I'm out
And
of
we
here.
are going to answer your
Fine,
questions,
fine.
but let's take a look at this. You want to talk about photos and renderings. Let's look at these two photos here. This one on my right, your left here, is 308 East 81st Street. It's a townhouse that we represent on the Upper East Side. It's really amazing. But if you take a look at the front photo here, it gives you a sense of how we choose to create a visually arresting presentation. As you could tell, it's really just a beautiful Porsche and the open garage. It gives someone that sort of intrigue to click. The same thing with this listing at 2373 Broadway on the Upper West Side, just showing the lifestyle, the picture of the couch and the pillow that says home on it and the window with the view. Again, that's just a direction of being visually arresting and getting people to click on that photo and feel like there's something there, something intriguing, and that's how you draw. You really get people in to see it. So having a listing like this, when you have a Porsche coming out of a garage is something that's ordinarily pretty rare in Manhattan to come with a single-family townhome. That's something that creates, definitely a lot of interest in the market, which is why you get a lot of clicks and impressions.
Every listing needs a different marketing angle. You have to find the marketing angle, and you have to let it rip.
But why don't we take his question also, because you want to answer it.
There's two questions.
He has two questions, okay.
What is your plan C for sold properties?
Plan C for sold
I'm
property.
not sure I understand that one.
Yeah. And the owner accept a different price for his apartment in the website?
Abe, you got to ask us the questions only after you understand the question, right? You got to figure out what this gentleman's asking. We can't all figure it out. We're live right now.
Ignacio, we want to address all your questions. We're just a little unclear, so if you want to maybe rephrase that'd be helpful.
Great. All right, let me dive
Yeah,
into
let's
the
do
market. So really quickly, before we ever talk about the market, okay, it's very important to note prior to getting into these numbers, prior to getting into our opinions, you could ask 5 different brokers that are all doing well, that have all been doing this for a decent amount of time, and you might have 5 different answers, right? The obvious general consensus regarding the state of the New York real estate market right now, or New York City real estate market right now, is it's declining since the peak of the market, which was spanning from Q1 or quarter 1 of 2015 leading into about 2017. Okay? Now, understanding that it's starting to decline throughout the broad scope of the market, which is the entry-level market, right, around the 1 million area, up to the ultra-luxury, which is in the 80 million to 100. What broke the record recently at 120 million? Was it
20 Central Park South?
No, they didn't break it. 157 currently still holds the record at 95 million. We need fact checked. Fact check like on on SportsCenter where they fact check it at the end of the show, and you're the genius that corrects everything we say.
Yeah, you check into your last.
Pardon the interruption does that. Wow, that's a great idea for the next show. Anyways, so across the market, it's been declining. There's no question. No one's going to tell you that it's been continuously getting stronger. But everyone's curious, how much is it declining? Which area in the market is declining? What
How
neighborhoods
long will it be
are
down
declining?
for?
How long is it going to be down for? What are the reasons for the decline? And those are all great questions, but we can't touch on all of them, right? It would have to be we'd have to dive into interest rates and how that affects your monthly payments with mortgages. One would be the volatile stock market, the upside and the downside of a stock market being volatile, right? Are people going to pour their money into brick and mortar, into real estate because they're less certain about their money in the stock market? Or are people going to pull out of deals?
Yeah.
Because they just lost a percentage of their liquid assets in their stock portfolio, which has recently happened to us. We actually had a very, very nice deal fall through because the Dow crashed, and they simply stated that the percentage they lost in the stock market that day was the same percentage that they were going to use to renovate the property.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking upwards of $400,000 or $500,000. So, without boring you, without giving you definitive, this is the way the market is, please understand that we're going to provide you with numbers,
Yes.
our intake, our thoughts on the market, but there's no yes, no, there's no black and white. Okay?
Well, let's also point out that really, regardless of how the market is behaving at the moment, or really what the perception of the market, in my opinion, and you tell me if you agree with me or not, I think that the press certainly has a way of blowing things out of proportion. You know, like The Real Deal had an article, I think it was a couple of months ago, they were talking about a listing at 432 Park that had, it was like a $10 or a $20 million discount that it sold for. But what they failed to note in that article was that it still traded for $8,000 a square foot, which is just a groundbreaking number.
So-
And I will also say that I think one thing that Manhattan really has, and you also tell me if you disagree or agree, but I think that one thing Manhattan has that no other market has that can it's sort of used as an economic indicator is desire. You know, people want to be in New York. This is New York, you know. So I think that that's something that's definitely present in the market regardless of its condition.
Definitely can't disagree with anything he said. It's probably more fun if I do. But Ariel's referring to a sale at 432 Park Avenue, which is one of the most luxurious, prestigious buildings in Manhattan right now for obvious reasons. It's currently the tallest building in the Eastern Hemisphere. Not for much longer. It will be the third tallest as soon as One Central Park South Tower is completed by Excel, which will exceed 432 in height, and 111 West 57th will be the second tallest building in the Eastern Hemisphere.
I was concerned about that building because that facade, that really thin building, like it looks like it's going to blow away. But we saw it the other day and we were like, wow.
It doesn't look. I'll disagree with you. The building doesn't look like it's going to blow away. It looks. It looks just fine.
Looks pretty solid.
Anyway, so the unit Ariel was referring to, and the media, of course, are experts in fear mongering, right? If there's a lot of positive to report, they are going to over embellish the positive.
Yep.
If there's a decline in the market, they're going to over embellish the decline simply because they're going to get more viewership and readership,
Yep.
right? It's more entertaining. Now, the article spun the sale of a $45 million property at 432 Park by explaining that the price was dropped by $15 million. What they failed to also discuss was that the property sold for over $8,000 per square foot.
It's obscene, that number.
Now, $8,000 per foot is insane.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's a groundbreaking
It's
sale.
a groundbreaking sale. Now, previous to that sale, downtown Manhattan, in this struggling, disastrous market which we're in, I'm being a little bit sarcastic, sold the most expensive property to ever sell in downtown Manhattan, which was at the Getty. That property was, I believe, $45 million, $35 million, $59 million.
Thank God for Abraham, huh?
Hey, what did I say, 45? I was only off by 15 million. Anyways,
Yeah.
$59 million penthouse at the Getty. So, very, very basic, transition into the market. The numbers are declining slightly, but we're in a very, very strong market.
Yeah.
And that's where it is.
And I will also say that, you know, when you're in what is perceived to be a struggling market, truthfully, teams like us, thankfully, we see a greater deal of success, and that's because we're creative. Something, you know, a great lesson that Howard taught us was that, you know, in a bad stock market, when he used to be a stock trader, he used to say that in a bad stock market, everybody used to listen to what he had to say when he would call them up, because in a bad market, everybody's pissed off with their broker, and, you know, they're looking for a solution. So what we really represent in this market is a solution to that struggling market, is because we bring something new to the table, and that's why our clients are thrilled to work with us.
Let me give you an idea, okay, of how the market's doing, just with a brief synopsis of the luxury market. This past week, there were 23 contracts that were signed in the 4 million plus luxury market. I'm going to give you quick information about the most expensive property to sell in the luxury market. It was at 1 Central Park South, the Plaza. It sold for $23,500,000. Now, that was also the highest price per foot that hit the market.
What was the square footage? Do you have that?
It went for $7,316 per foot. Ariel, you can divide $23,500,000 by 7,316, and we can figure that out quickly. Now, property took 225 days to sell, which isn't outrageous. Another thing to note, the Plaza is what you call a redevelopment, okay? There are ground-up developments, and then there are redevelopments. A redevelopment is a development in a pre-existing building. As many of you may know, the Plaza is famous for movies like Home Alone.
That's right.
With Donald Trump.
The world-renowned Plaza Hotel.
The world-renowned Plaza Hotel. And it was redeveloped. It's a hotel residency. It's not the only one in Manhattan, but it's probably one of the most famous ones. Yep. And you are able to purchase condominium units in a portion of this hotel residency. Now, in this market, these types of properties have been struggling. And the reason why they've been struggling is because there's an influx of new development inventory, right? There's no surprise, it's not news to anybody, that there is an incredible amount of new luxury condominium developments, especially on Billionaires Row, on 57th Street, very close to the Plaza. So the reason why it's interesting to us, and Abraham sitting there, as soon as he realized it was the Plaza, or we realized it was the Plaza, we said, wow, that's a surprising top sale, because that building has been collecting dust in this market.
Yeah, it's been hard to move units in that building.
Very
We've seen
hard.
That before. We had Tommy Hilfiger had a unit on the, his penthouse on the market there for a long time.
A very long time.
Really beautiful.
To give you an idea of the total weekly sales volume, you're looking at just shy of $200 million in sales last week.
Now, here's my question to you.
Talk to me.
In a market like Manhattan, in a
Yes.
market as vast as Manhattan is,
yes.
do you consider that a lot or a little?
Okay. So, we've been studying the luxury market since the decline. And the reason why we've been studying it is because we've been fortunate enough to represent sellers and buyers in this luxury market. Before that, we were closer to the $1, $2, $3 million range. But since 2016, 2017, we've really dived deep into the luxury market, so we have a decent amount of knowledge to discuss that market. Since the decline, a strong week is going to be hovering around that 20 contract per week range. Again, that's 4 million and up. So there could be 20 contracts around the 4 or 5 million range. It could be split
and a
between
whole other amount,
and a whole other amount in the ultra luxury, which we consider,
or in the lower tier of the market below 4.
In the lower tier. So to give you an idea, Thanksgiving week, which of course is going to be slow in any market because people are not dealing with lawyers and brokers; they are dealing with their family and friends, and they are gathering to feast and be thankful and grateful. This year had about 12 luxury contracts signed, okay? And the worst year was, I think, 2008 or 2009, and it had like 1 or 2 contracts signed.
Around Thanksgiving week.
Around Thanksgiving week. So, again, any week that we find that there are hovering around 20 contracts signed, we're in a strong luxury sales market. And I believe 80% of the luxury market reports this year have been hovering around that 20 per week mark. So now, where is the stories talking about the declining market? It's very simple. Due to the amount of supply, which is the second most amount of supply in New York City history, we're hovering around 8,000 available units right now. The second largest amount of supply was 10,000 units, and that was in 2009, right after the Lehman's crash.
This guy really knows his numbers.
So, thank God we're live. Right? Because you have so much inventory, because of aspirational pricing, peer pricing, people failing or sellers failing to understand that we are no longer in the peak of the market, having a hard time grasping that their property is no longer worth what they thought it was worth. You have a lot of inventory sitting on the market because they really just haven't come down to earth. And because of those price drops, because of the amounts of days on market these properties are being listed for, it gives the impression that prices are dropping. But if you compare the actual sales volume, okay, and the average price per foot and the average price per an apartment in Manhattan, the decline is around 1 to 2%.
Right.
It's not great. The great decline is in the oversupply numbers throughout the luxury market, and really throughout the entire market. So
everything sells eventually.
Everything sells eventually.
Everything sells.
Abe, what do you think? You think we're hovering on this too long? You think we should move?
I think so. I think we should move along a little bit.
Move along.
Yeah, I think we should. Do we have
another question?
All right,
Thank
let's
God.
hear it. Yeah, let's
I
hear
have
it.
two questions.
Great.
One more serious than the other.
Oh, wow.
Make sure you say who's
So
coming.
we had a question
Fix my
on
time.
Instagram from Jaden A. Timmons. Is saying, is Devin wearing a Patek?
Shut
That's-
the...
that-
Really?
You don't have to say every time we get a question. Shut the fuck up.
I'm just flattered. It is, actually, yeah.
It's a beautiful
Do I
watch.
take it off? Who's Jaden? And why? What, is it... Can they see from this far?
He knows his watches. This guy.
It is a Patek. Yeah, it's a Patek.
You got a good eye, Jaden. You got a good eye.
Does you want to know what type of Patek? Son of a gun, you.
Next question.
Ignacio,
Ignacio
Yeah.
again.
Thank
what
God.
is your favorite book of real estate to recommend?
That's a really good question.
I know what Ariel's going to answer.
Yeah. Well, look.
Go for it.
I will say one thing. I will never speak about politics on this show. Neither will Devin. You know.
Because we both disagree.
Well, regardless, this doesn't say anything about my political affiliation, but I will say that The Art of the Deal is an absolutely phenomenal book. Another book that I read that was written by Michael Gross is called House of Outrageous Fortune. It's all about the development and the sale of 15 Central Park West, which is a really, really phenomenal read. Do you read real estate books? Do you read?
Well, I'm slightly illiterate, which is why we have these in front of us. I have no idea what's in front of me right now. I've read portions of real estate books in terms of whether they're from famous realtors, right? I've opened a few of those up. Frederick Eklund wrote a book. I thought it was
I read that book.
I
too.
got through maybe 50 or 60 pages. I thought the information was helpful.
Yeah. His book was really good, Frederick's book.
I think it is far more important to spend your time reading about what's going on in the market, about areas in the real estate market that you're unfamiliar with. Sales tactics and information from very successful people in sales are definitely helpful.
Yeah.
Anybody will tell you that it's important to sort of find your own way in terms of how to get a deal done, how to
Yeah.
get a sale done.
For sure.
So I think it's great. I know Oriel has read several, and he always pushes me to. I sort of, I guess I try to not stay away, but it doesn't. I have my own style.
Yeah. Well, me too. I don't find myself reading real estate books. I feel like we spend our lives in real estate, so we really get a firsthand look at the market. When I was coming into real estate is when I read books like The Art of the Deal. I read Frederick Eklund's book, which was definitely a good guideline in some ways. But I try to read books that are more general business as well as creative. So I read the most phenomenal book I ever read was Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, all about how he started Nike and really his tactics going into it. I thought that was really phenomenal. I've read all of Gary Vaynerchuk's books. I think that he's an excellent tool in understanding how the market behaves and how you can really grasp attention. And for me as a creative, I'm really into that. I really try to grab onto that as much as possible. And other than that, I just consume content. I consume content on the web, and I look at whatever interests me that I think can inspire me and make my work better.
I read Hop on Pop. No, I'm an information junkie. I'm only reading the news. I'm not going home and reading about inspirational characters like Ariel is, which again I think is amazing. If you're into that, that's phenomenal. It's not really my thing. Again, I'm a huge advocate of filling yourself with as much current events as possible, because every arena, whether it's politics, stock market, the bond market, interest rate, the Fed, any area that you think that could potentially have some sort of
Well, it helps you succeed. Like, you're a guy who's really impactful when you talk about the market and you talk about the numbers and understanding that. I think you're very much in a position where knowledge is power. So the more knowledge you have, the more power you have.
again, reading books on real estate. Yes.
6:55.
All right, so we got a 5-minute warning.
Thank God, I need a sandwich.
We got a 5-minute warning here, so we're going to open it up for any last questions if any of you guys want to throw any our way. In
We
the
don't have any more
meantime,
questions.
we do
We have
have
another question?
we have a couple of hats here for you. We'll get to the question in 1 second. If you guys DM us your address, we will happily send you a free hat. It'll come with one of our new beautiful LS Media stickers. That's just a show of appreciation for watching.
Well, we have to send one to Ignazio, and we have to send...
He sent so many questions, we'll send him 2 hats, one white and one black, and 2
Ignazio, you're getting 2 hats, my friend.
But-
I'm not sure if you celebrate Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, but happy all of them. These are for you. These stickers and hats are for you. Thank you.
You might have to pay for the shipping to Argentina.
No.
All right, let's hear the questions.
All right, 2 rapid-fire questions.
Rapid fire. Let's do it.
You want to start, Ariel?
If you could sell real estate in any other market,
I would.
Did you make these questions up?
No. But I will say.
That's a made-up question.
No, it's not. We're not making up any questions here.
I don't know.
Anyway,
Sounds-
what was the question again?
if you could sell real estate in any other market, where
If you
would
could
sell?
pick a better fake name for a question, what would it be? No.
If I could sell real estate in any other market, I think it would be Paris. Paris is really close to home for me. I think it's an absolutely beautiful city. I know there's been a lot of craziness going on there with the riots, but I absolutely love Paris. The 8th arrondissement is really like home for me. My grandfather lived there. So I think that's where I would sell. What about you?
2-hour drive to the Alps, 2-hour drive to the lake. In Manhattan, your best bet is going to Long Island, and you could be stuck in the car for 5 to 6 hours. So Milan, as a city, the food, of course.
All right. Listen, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This was our first live stream.
We're definitely not doing that. All right.
All right. Good.